30 of my Democrat colleagues, 4 of whom on this very committee, co-sponsored a bill that would impose a financial transaction tax on the purchase of securities and certain derivatives. And just recently, after the market volatility surrounding GameStop in January, Democrats renewed the call, many Democrats anyway, renewed the call for a financial transaction tax. On just January 28th, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tweeted, "How about this? Financial transaction tax now." Congressman Peter DeFazio is the lead sponsor of the bill. He's already put the bill back in for this session of Congress. It's now House Resolution 328 of 2000. So it's called the Wall Street Tax Act of 2021. I actually have a copy of it from the last session here. It's in again now. And he says, Congressman DeFazio says that a financial transaction tax would, quote, help create a more level playing field for Main Street. So with that background, Mr. Attentive, this question is directed at you. The Robinhood platform has more than 13 million users, and most of them are small dollar retail investors. If the federal government levied a 0.1% transaction tax on the sale of securities, and I know one of my colleagues, French Hill, my good friend, mentioned this earlier, but I want to expand upon it a little more. How would that 0.1% transaction tax on the sale of securities affect your platform and the retail investors that are your customers?
Thank you, Congressman. And we'd be happy to engage in this discussion much more in the future. A 10 basis point financial transaction tax would eat into the returns of our customers, which, as you pointed out, are largely smaller investors. And in that sense, it would be a cost to the retail investor. Of course, that would have to be weighed against the potential benefits of this tax. And I know it's a more complicated issue than meets the eye at first glance.
Okay, well, thank you for that answer. My next question is actually for Jennifer Schulp. I know you spent your career specializing in financial regulation. In your expert opinion, would a financial transaction tax directly prevent fraud or market manipulation?
No, I don't think a financial transaction tax would have an effect on fraud or manipulation. I also don't think that it ultimately, financial transaction taxes often fail to raise money, and they distort trading in a way that's not necessarily foreseen initially by the tax. And I'd like to just add in there as well that financial transaction taxes, while they initially might seem like a small imposition on an individual investor, those taxes often hurt individual investors and their long-term retirement goals by affecting the institutions that also do the trading in mutual funds and with retirement money. I don't think a financial transaction tax is a good idea.
And a quick follow-up to that, Mr. Schulp, what do you think a financial transaction tax would have done anything to prevent the market volatility and disruption we saw just this past January?
No, I don't think it's related here. There's been some discussion that it might have decreased the amount of trading and thus changed the volatility. It's not my opinion that would have had any effect on this particular circumstance.
Thank you. I only have a minute left, so let me just summarize. The financial transaction tax, supported by many Democrats, would do nothing to prevent market manipulation or fraud, would have not prevented the market disruption in January, and most importantly, would hurt retail investors. Yet Democrats are claiming that the events surrounding GameStop and Robinhood in January make it imperative to implement this financial transaction tax. It just doesn't add up. A financial transaction tax would make it more expensive for small retail investors to trade. And so much for looking out for Main Street. I believe we should be working together to find ways to open up markets to retail investors, not close them. Instead of making trade more expensive with a burdensome tax, let's look for ways to empower retail traders. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beatty, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.